And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Kim Davis. Today is Wednesday. I'm so used to it being Tuesday, August the 2nd. Welcome to August. So, listen, it is NFL training camp season. So, Chalk Talk shows will kind of vary based on the Houston Texans training camp schedule. Today is actually their scheduled day off. So next week, make a note of it. I'll also do a much better job of letting you know. But next week's show will also be on Wednesday because Tuesday is a camp day. So let me take a breath. It has been quite a week, actually quite a couple of days. Yesterday was the trade deadline for Major League Baseball. And those of us who cover the Astros have been waiting and watching, and I'm sure people around baseball as well. Are they going to make a move? I talked to um, my baseball insider, one of the baseball insiders I know last week, or maybe it was about a week and a half ago. And he said, listen, Verlander is in play. The Astros are looking at Verlander. They did bring in Graveman. They needed some help with the bullpen. They did that. They brought him back. And sure enough, before the deadline yesterday, they um, signed or traded for again, made a deal for Justin Verlander. My phone was blowing up from some of my friends going, Am I am I seeing this right? Is Justin Verlander back? Is he a Houston Astro? Yes, he is. So Justin Verlander is back, but that's not the only news. So that happened earlier in the day. Last night, Framber Valdez was he had to start. The Astros are playing host to the Cleveland Guardians. And listen, it was the first day of August. Framber had a not so great July. He struggled, right? He struggled. Well, last night he did not struggle. He pitched a no-hitter. He is the first left-hander in Astros in the history of the franchise to pitch a no-hitter. So the Astros won the game 2-0. Of course, King Tuck is the reason. He drove in runs early in the game, and those were the only two runs that the Astros would have. He drove in Pena and Altuve. So yeah, the Astros won. They are still in the hunt for first place in the American League West. They trail the Texas Rangers, who had a shutout win yesterday as well. Not a no-hitter, but a shutout win. And so they're back at it today. Justin Verlander could join the team as early as this weekend. Today, the Astros have an afternoon game. It's getaway day, and then they head on the road. They're off tomorrow, and they'll be back in action. So that's what's happening with the Astros. It was a really exciting day. And I start with that, even though we are in week 2 of NFL training camp with the Houston Texans. There was a lot to talk about on that front. Of course, first-year head coach DeMeco Ryans. He's been here since February, so he went through OTAs. There was rookie mini camp. There was a draft, then there was rookie mini camp, there was a veteran mini camp. Now it is officially training camp, and he's excited. He's the same DeMeco he's been since he got here, probably since he played, and he is excited about the opportunities ahead. But like he said, it's a lot of work, and his goal is that they get better really every day. So the big questions at camp, right? We're going to talk about some of those. It is about the quarterback, right? People want to know, is CJ Stroud, the rookie that has joined that the Texans drafted with the number 2 overall pick out of the Ohio State University, will he start? He will start. He will start. And they have not declared him the starter, nor should they, in my opinion. He struggled a little bit, but it is this first week. They have completed 1 week of camp. They didn't go in. They put pads on Sunday, and kind of that kind of half shell, if you will. And yesterday was the first day really in full pads. He's made some mistakes. It is training camp. It is the second week for the rookie out of the Ohio State University. I say settle down. We will see. He will be the starter at some point, and they haven't named a starter, so it's not like he's lost the starting position. But I just say hold your horses. So I'm going to let you hear from head coach DeMeco Ryans, who talks about that. Let's do that now. This is head coach DeMeco Ryans talking about what he's seen from CJ at this point.
CJ, the thing that's impressed me the most is just his dedication to being as best as he can possibly be. Right? He puts the work in, not only when he's here, of course, everybody does that, that's given. But what you see about CJ, the work that in preparation that he does when he's not here. Right? He's a true football junkie. He loves football, always watching football, always asking for extra cut-ups from our coaches. So I'm just impressed with the mental part of him and just how much he loves the game of football. When your guy has that much love for the game of football, he has no chance but to continue to get better and improve. And that's what I've seen with him from OTAs until now. Each day he's done what we've asked, and he's gotten better each and every day. He's just continuing to keep his head down and just grind. He's not worried about, what reps he gets, who's he out there with. He's just worried about maximizing his rep, and that's what I asked for from everyone.
And that's what he asked for, he said, right? So, of course, DeMeco is asked often about starting, as we're practice, people are taking notes about who's taking reps with the ones and the twos. And what I would tell you is they mix it up. Sometimes it's CJ, sometimes it's Davis Mills, or you throw in a Case. I mean, they're taking reps with different guys. I think it's too early to make anything out of any of that. And when he was asked, like, well, when do you think, what's the timetable to name a starter? And he said, kind of jokingly, but he said, hey, listen, I tell you what, when we get to Baltimore, we will have a start. We will have a quarterback. And he kind of laughed and he made light of it. And so he knows he's going to get the questions. We actually talked about that at our kind of a media kickoff event before camp started. I know you guys are going to ask, and I may not answer, right? Yeah. And so I'm not bothered by the fact that the Texans, in particular, head coach DeMeco Ryans, has not named a starting quarterback yet. They got time for that. So what does CJ say? Of course, people asked CJ, said, hey, listen, Bryce Young is in North Carolina and they've named him the starter and blah, blah, blah. What do you think about that? CJ said, hey, listen, Bryce is my brother. I'm glad for him. I'm happy for him. But his situation is his situation. And my situation is my situation. I'm just trying to get better every day. Here is CJ talking about really camp so far.
Yeah, I mean, I fell in love with it. It's a different style of what I played in college, but a lot of similarities to it as well. Very timing based, and I've actually really dove deep into it with Stroud and Bill and Shane, and then Case and Davis have done a great job helping me as well. So just a lot of late nights studying, a lot of early morning studying, just really trying to get this thing and know it like the back of my hand.
And go through the practices, like what's it like, just the first week? Do you feel like decision making, getting through it? Where do you feel you are?
Yeah, OTAs was really good and really big for me, just with the foundation of the offense, and then I think I've taken that next step of more responsibilities and things like that as I've done in training camp. So it's becoming better and better each and every day.
So, one of the things that's interesting, and I think CJ is going to be fine. He's obviously very talented. He's very committed, dedicated. He's a smart young man. So I'm watching him, and the last rookie that came out, Texans took in the first round, of course, many years ago. That was not many, but several years ago, was Deshaun Watson. And so as I watch CJ, it's a natural kind of thing for me to think, man, where was Deshaun Watson at this point in camp? And of course, Deshaun had played more years in college, but he was clearly further along. And so I say that to say sometimes we take things out of the right perspective, and no one's saying we're comparing CJ's progress and performance to this point to Deshaun Watson and where he was at this point. But if you look at it, was there a difference? Absolutely. Deshaun was special. He was special. We knew he was. CJ is special. They're different. It's going to take him a minute. And so I just, we will see it. It has not looked great so far, but let me be very clear. The offense in general hasn't been great so far. It's a new offense. It's new personnel. It's a new staff. It's going to take a minute. On the other side of the ball, defensively, which is really, again, going to be what this team has to kind of hang its hat on. There have been some bright spots. They really have. Will Anderson Jr. for one. Obviously, everybody's talking about Will Anderson Jr. What is he? How does he look? What do you think? And whenever you talk to somebody on the staff, they almost get giddy, right? They're excited and they smile. Here is head coach DeMeco Ryans talking about Will Anderson Jr. Let's see here. Here's Coach Ryan.
Yeah. For us, Will, what he's done well, it's this relentless mindset of how he attacks each day. Right? He comes out with a relentless motor. He plays with a physical mindset every play. And everybody around, they can just look at Will and see how we need to practice, right? What does it look like if you want to be a great player? You have to work that way. So it all starts with the work ethic, and he's there, right? That's what we want. He exemplifies exactly what I want in that type of player. And playing the end position, now the difference is now we'll play primarily with our hand in the dirt, different from when he stood up in college. But the main difference is just he's going to be attacking, right? We don't want him coming off, reading, playing slow. The main thing we want him to do is play as fast as possible so he can go make plays for us. We're not going to slow him down.
They're not going to slow him down. Somebody asked Will Anderson about, well, I'll let you hear that. Here's Will Anderson talking about, like his, camp to this point. And I say that because we get different guys on different days. They make them available at the podium. And this was, Will Anderson, this week was his first time talking with the media from the podium. And here is Will Anderson after first being asked about his weight. He says he's 260. He's super healthy. He feels good. It's great. And it's all working out for him. Here's Will Anderson Jr.
Yeah, I think it's all just about the mentality, the mindset that you have, you know what I'm saying? Just where I came from, the school I came from, just growing up and then coming here with Coach Ryans. Like I said, we kind of have the same mentality. And then come to training camp, and we just take it one day at a time and have fun and play football. And, sometimes I get a little mad because I'm trying to get prepared for this heat, practice and staying and everything like that. So, but it's been really fun.
Well, in terms of goal setting, what does a good rookie year look like for you? What do you want to do?
Man, really just connecting with the guys, playing alongside of them, building the chemistry on the team, and just being one and just going out there swarming to the ball and we all be on the same page and having fun.
What do you think about being favored to be NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year?
Only thing I can be worried about right now is just being in the moment, being where my feet are, and that's getting better every day in training camp.
What are some of the similarities you've seen with Coach Ryans and Coach Saban as far as practice and mentality is concerned?
Yeah, I would just say the intensity, moving around, fast pace, everybody swarming, running to the ball. I see a lot of that just coming from you.
Yeah. The whole question about defensive rookie of the year, a weekend of camp. And I've been in the media a really long time. It's those lines of questioning that it always kind of makes me go, really? What's he supposed to say? Yeah, I'm going to be the defensive rookie of the year. Then we could talk about how he's not focused on the team. He's focused on individual accolades. I just have seen some things from some of my colleagues at camp that make me go, come on, guys. Come on. It's just too much. I mean, the criticism yesterday of, Janice McNair, the fact that she was, or the comments about her, being in a shade, an air-conditioned, tent while she's watching camp. She is 86 years old in a wheelchair. Let me just say that. And there is a tent that is air-conditioned that the media has access to and that we use. It has water and ice in it. And anyway, I just think sometimes we just do too much, y'all. Y'all doing too much. You're doing too much. You're doing too much. Okay, so Texans training camp is ongoing. They're getting ready. Today's an off day. Back at it tomorrow. Next week, they travel to New England to play the Patriots in the first preseason game. That's going to be exciting to get a chance to see them against somebody other than themselves, right? And let's see. I know that some of you have commented so far. Hey, good morning, James. Thank you for being here. Good morning. Good morning. Hello, Ellen Davis Johnson. Good to see you. And Charles Lamar Drayden. Boy, do we have a lot to talk about. I'm going to call you because I need to schedule you on the show and see if you're available for next week. I saw the comment you put on something that Joy reposted on Instagram where you said, hey, have the vice president let me go and represent her. So I was like, wow. Absolutely. There is just some nonsense. It was a comment from Ron DeSantis about, it was disrespectful, but what do we expect from him? Anyway, there's just so much going on. We're going to talk a little bit about what's happening before we get out of here today. And on the political scene, I just think it's important if you're in Houston, Texas, and you're paying attention to what's happening with HISD. There's some madness. We'll talk about that. And then nationally, and at this point, it's really an international story that the former president has been indicted once again, to add to the list. But this one is the most serious, and so we're going to talk about that. And yeah, yeah. Hey, Kevin. Good morning, my friend. It's good to see you. Yeah, I will tell you that was John McClain who made the comment about Janice McNair at 86 years old in a wheelchair, saying, well, maybe she'll think about, getting a tent for the media. Yeah. Again, there's a tent, and John's been in a tent. Let me just say it. There's an air-conditioned tent with water and ice in it, and people can go in and out. It's open the entire time that we're out there. And John has been in the tent. So I don't know what that was about. I thought it was just tacky and uncalled for, to be quite honest. But they're not going to take his credentials. He's the general. But it's that entitlement that I see sometimes with colleagues that make you just go, really? Is that what we're doing? You wanted to be on the field like in the sun? Anyway, and Miss McNair could be as healthy as anybody, but she's 86 and in a wheelchair. Why wouldn't she be in an air-conditioned tent? I would think it'd be cruel if she was sitting out on the sideline in the beaming down heat. That would be insanity. Anyway, I digress. But listen, let's put a pause on the Texans for just a moment and talk about the Houston Astros. Dana Brown, the general manager, had been saying, hey, we'll see what's out there. I knew they'd been trying to work a deal, with the Mets, who, of course, are going nowhere fast, with Justin Verlander. Verlander had a no trade clause, so it was up to him. And there were some who said, why would he come back to Houston? Well, he left because of the money. He wanted to get a bigger deal. He wanted more years, and he wanted a bigger number. He got that from the Mets. But so he's still going to get his money, but the Mets are just going to pay part of the salary. So the Astros are not on the hook for all of it. And he gets to come back to a clubhouse he's familiar with, a city he actually did like, an organization he knows, a catcher who he likes. He and Maldi had a really good relationship. I heard somebody on a show the other day say, oh, that's probably the reason he came. Well, that won't be the main reason, but it's obviously helpful to come back and with a catcher that that you had somebody calling the game, that you had a good rapport and relationship with, and had success. And oh, by the way, the Astros are again in the hunt, right? They're in the hunt. They're half game out. I was just looking at the standings. So the Rangers are 61-46. The Astros are 61-47. So the Astros are 1/2 game behind the Rangers in the American League West. Let me just see. So today, the Rangers are playing. Where are they? They're playing the White Sox. So the White Sox, of course, are doing what the White Sox do. They're 43-65. The Rangers should win that game. They're playing at home. That's a night game. And as I mentioned earlier, the Astros are wrapping up their series with the Guardians today. That game will start at 1:10. And it's the getaway day game. So they have an afternoon game before a day off tomorrow. And then on Thursday, they're in New York to play the Yankees. So, Verlander can just drive across town when they get to New York and put on his Astros uniform and be ready. He's been throwing well and pitching well lately. It's a good time for him. And if you remember, when they acquired the Astros, we acquired him back in 2017, it was right at the deadline, and he came in throwing lights out. So hopefully it will be the same thing now. Yesterday was a good day for the Astros. Dusty said the same. He was excited. And so we don't want to lose sight of the fact that Framber Valdez threw a no-hitter. I mean, he was awful in July. He just struggled. And I was like, man, that psychologist, therapist person you said had been helpful, maybe he should call him, because he loses his composure. And not that you expect that he would give you exactly what he gave you last year, because he had so many quality starts. I think he led the league in quality starts last year. But the way he struggled in July, you were just waiting for him to turn it around. And the way he started the game pitching last night, the breaking ball was working early. And so Dusty said, hey, we knew it was going to be a good day. Here is Dusty talking about Framber. Let me pull it up for you.
We're conscious of that. And like I said, he took a bunch of ground balls. He had some strikeouts. And, there weren't, many balls hit hard. I mean, usually in a no-hitter, there's a couple plays that, what's the word, that allows a no-hitter to be thrown. But tonight, there was a lot of ground balls, a lot of weak contact, and he was masterful. I mean, it was great. We needed it, he needed it, and so hopefully we starting off August, and we have plans for this to be our best month, and this is the way to start it off. Skipper.
Yeah, that's a great way to start it off. If you want August to be the best month, I think it's a great way to get started. You get started with Framber throwing a no-hitter, right? That's huge. That alone is huge. But earlier in the day, you've got the news that JV is coming back. And so what do the guys think? You saw that he was FaceTime a couple of the guys before doing batting practice. He had a huge smile. They were all smiles. And these guys have a shot at it. We could talk about the numbers and the fact that, repeating winning a championship hasn't happened. And I should pull the stats up, but I believe it was in the 90s that it last happened? But their pitching has been, listen, the fact that they've been this close with the kind of injuries they've had, with the struggles they've had with pitching, Dusty Baker is my manager of the year to this point. Kevin, you're right. Framber found out it's tough being number one. Hey, listen, the game changes, right, when the expectations are all on you. And people don't really think about that. You're absolutely right, Kevin. When you're number one, you are now the ace. It's a whole different, it's the pressure. It is a pressure that you don't really think about until you're in it. I know that Zena and I talk about it a lot with these young tennis players. When you show up and you have a great Wimbledon and it was unexpected and the world is cheering for you and they love you and everybody wants to talk to you, then the next tournament, they're looking at you because now they're expecting that, oh, this is who you are. That's what happened with Framber. He had all these quality starts and he had great numbers last year. And now you're the ace. Oh, wait. We looking at you, Framber. And so the pressure is on. I think he should still be talking to the therapist, not psychiatrist, but the psychologist guy. He talked about it. It's not a secret. He said it helped him manage his emotions, which is how he was able to be so successful last year. And oh, by the way, he was not the ace Justin Verlander was. And then there was some that may think that McCullers, who knows if he'll ever play again, would have been right up there as well. Well, this year it's Framber, and you're right. Being number one is really tough. Here is I'm going to show you guys something from the clubhouse yesterday. This is nope, that's not what I want. Cancel that. This is Alex Bregman talking about when he got the news and about the fact that Verlander is coming back.
Fired up. I'm super excited. Obviously got to play with him for a long time, and he's just a great leader, great teammate, competitor. Super fired up.
That's great news for us. He was great for us last year. He's a leader in this clubhouse, and he's a guy that a lot of players in this clubhouse look up to. So we're excited.
I think it's definitely going to provide a huge boost, not only energy-wise, but also just to be able to have a guy like him in here.
And Alex Bregman telling me he did send JV a text basically saying, let's go. So
that's my good friend Jason over at Channel 11 who shared that clip for us and talked to Bregman and also talked to Jeremy Pena. How can you not be excited about him coming back? Hey, good morning, Sylvia, my other sister. Didn't mean to skip over you. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in on today. A special day for Chalk Talk. again, remember, I'll remind you, I'm going to do better about that, guys. Chalk Talk will be on Wednesday next week as well, because the Texans are practicing next Tuesday, and Wednesday is the day off. So we will broadcast Chalk Talk on Wednesday. We may have a special Chalk Talk as well. I'm going to get with Charles Lamar Drayton, our legal expert, and see what he is able to join us, because there's so much to talk about in the legal world. So I don't know about many of you. For those of you who watch in other cities, I'm in Houston, and a lot of the people who tune into the show also are in Houston. I am a product of public schools and HISD. I went to schools in HISD, and to see what is happening now is really kind of a travesty. The latest thing, I mean, there have been so many things, right? Talking about closing schools, moving principals around, but now we're going to close libraries, and I believe the number is 28 schools, and make them basically detention centers. I was a big reader. I still am a big reader. And reading just opens up so much. And the fact that you're going to close libraries, which for some of those young kids are their really only chance to, it's how they experience and move beyond their current circumstances. It moves beyond their current, if their home or their neighborhood or their city, because the reading opens the world up to you. And so we're going to close libraries, more detention centers. It's just a lot of madness. And so I'm in HISD, I'm in Houston, I'm a taxpayer. And so I just say, when I talk about always paying attention, always being registered to vote, making sure that you're voting your values and voting for what matters for you and your family and your community. If you're in the city of Houston, you got to pay attention, right? It's not just about what happens at the national level. It's what happens with your local level, with who are you putting in office in the city? Who are you putting in office in the state? The legislators, the people at TEA who made this decision. Pay attention, be active, and don't be caught by surprise. Yeah, my sister Sylvia says that's devastating to even consider that option. Consider it, and also the fact that it's done. So I just wanted to share that. That is, you keep thinking it's not going to get worse, right? It's like, what are they doing now? They took over the school district. They've been making these moves, and now they're hiring teachers that aren't certified. Just come on, you can teach off the street. It's as though they're setting up the biggest district in the state to fail. So that's disappointing, really disappointing to see. And I mentioned that so that if you're not paying attention, let somebody hear from you, be involved. I don't have kids, so I don't have any kids in school. I absolutely care about what's happening with HISD and with the teachers, and most importantly, those students that it impacts. It is unconscionable, and we've got to continue to talk about it and do something about it, right? It's libraries are not essential in the African American community, right? How are they not essential, right? You got to have libraries. It's just unbelievable. I mean, they're not going to close a library at River Oaks Elementary, right? But you're going to close a library at other schools, and you're going to say, when you put a detention center in, because that's what they're doing. So then you're almost saying, absolutely, we should act this way because they've got a space for us. I just think it's not okay, and we need to keep talking about it. I'm going to jump back to something Kevin said earlier about Justin Verlander. Funny how we were ready to ship him off after all those playoff games last season. Now we're head over heels to have him back. Yeah, funny what seeing your starting pitchers struggle, what that looks like, right? Christian Javier, you lose Garcia. He had to have Tommy John surgery. You lost McCullers, and I think we forget that he's even really here. Jose Urquidy, right? He's coming back, but he's missed a big chunk. So who do you have? You've got some young people. Hunter Brown, he's pitched more than he ever has. How long can he hold up? France, how long can he hold up? Because he's pitched more than he's ever been asked to pitch. Pitching, it makes a big difference, right? And so now you're like, whoa, we need some starting pitching. Yes, you would like to get a left-hander, but you got to have another starter that you can get a good, 7 innings out of is not going to be an aberration. Like, you can extends the life of your bullpen when you're not having to go to the pen in the 5th inning. So there's so much that's exciting about JV being back. But you know what? We always want what we don't have, and when we have it, but the criticism of Verlander, I think, was fair last year. I mean, he was a Cy Young Award winner, but the fact that he struggled in postseason, I think, was mental. It was something he had to get over. He got over that hump last year with the Astros. Finally got a win during the World Series, things he hadn't done. And I think that's going to make it easier for him this year as they make a run and hope to get back to another title. I mean, it is absolutely possible. Hey, good morning, Sanseria. Welcome. Thank you for being a part of Chalk Talk. So it is a lot happening. It's been a busy, busy week. You've got the stuff that's happening over at Texans Camp. I think it's really early. Kevin, I can't wait to chat with you to hear your thoughts about some of the things happening at camp. One of the players that I've been watching is Tank Dell. The little, I say little because he really is. Like, I think his legs are smaller than my arms. And I'm just saying, he's so little. I feel like, yes, he's little, he's super quick, but it's like he needs to build his legs up just a little bit. But he is explosive. And if he can develop and if he can be what they think or hope he can be, that's going to be exciting, right? To have somebody who can stretch the field the way he has. I think this year is an important year for Nico Collins, right? He's been banged up a couple, the first 2 years. He has not really kind of gotten there, right? So this is a pivotal year for Nico Collins in terms of what he's going to do. The one position that I think they're really light in is at tight end. We'll see what happens. They're just light there. The receiving position is not super stacked and stocked, but there are some possibilities and potentials, and it's camp, right? They could still make a move. What will you get from John from Mechie? I think you don't really have a lot of expectations on him. The first thing is that he's back on the field and he's healthy after what he went through last year, that he's actually back and able to compete and play. And then what can he do? Because now he's got to get his timing back. He hasn't really played football in 2 years. So there's really no amount of working out and non-contact stuff you can do to get you ready for football, which is a contact sport. Live football, you got to play live football, right? You got to play it in order to get better at it. So he's working on those things like his timing and just getting the feel of being back out there. It's good to see him. It's not too, I don't even know. Kevin, you got jokes. It's not too late. You're right. I've got some friends with kids and I embrace them, and you're right. That's what I got, right? That's what I got. You just got jokes. You're funny. It's never too late for anything, right? It's probably too late for kids for me, but I can participate with somebody else who hasn't. You're right, Sanseria. Amen about the whole HISD stuff. Listen, before I get out of here, and I'm going to thank you guys for being nimble because I didn't really tell you that I was changing the show this week. So thank you for showing up. I'm going to do better about telling you in advance. I got a lot going on. I'm moving. I'm just doing, but I am going to, throughout camp, I'll have my show on the off day. And so next week, again, it's Wednesday. And I think the week after that, it might be Wednesday. Kevin says, Tank is not a field stretcher, in my opinion. He's more of a lightning in a bottle. Hard to touch in a box. Yeah, you're right. I can go with that. He is lightning in a bottle. So, and he could just, shoot out of that bottle and do some pretty magical stuff. I don't know if they're going to, they in special teams, will they put him back there? Is he a guy that's going to be able to be a return guy? We'll see if that's possible, because that's another lightning kind of spot. But you're right. He is, for what they've had in terms of guys who could really run. You're right. He's probably more speed than a stretcher, but that's how I looked at it. But I'm really curious about him. And I said that on one of the Channel 11 shows recently. One of the ESPN guys was like, Tank Dell. Listen, I don't know yet, but there's something about that young man, and we'll see. I mean, you just never know until games start. Like, you're actually, first it was getting to camp, and then it was, they're not in pads yet. Well, they're in they're in half shells. Okay, now they're in pads. And now you go, okay, but what about when they play against somebody else? I mean, there's always these next steps in these phases. And so as my good friend General Manager Nick Casario said, there are 20 practices and 3 games before they get to the season. And they have it kind of broken down into what happens in each one of those segments. They have a few practices, and then they have a day off. That is mandated by the league, right? They've got that as a part of their collective, or as a part of their contract when they've got to be off. They have mandated breaks once they started in pads. There are times when all the players go and, either go into the cooling tent, because they too have a cooling tent. I hope, John's not mad about that. But, or they go under the tents that are covered. They have a couple breaks during practice. It's brutally hot outside. They're competing and running around in full pads and uniforms and, at a really high level of intensity. So I think those things are good. It's different from earlier in my career. There was none of this mandated breaks and you got to have water. I mean, I remember 2-a-days. It's just amazing that how things have evolved. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just different, right? It's just really different. So, Sissy, I love your hair and your glasses. Who's the guy with the left hand pitcher last night? I know a little bit about sports. Okay, so that was Framber Valdez. He is a left-hander, and he was the pitcher last night that threw the no-hitter. Very good. You do know a little bit of something about sports, or maybe you just listened to me earlier. But he is the first left-hander in the history of the franchise to throw a no-hitter, right? So it's a big deal to throw a no-hitter, and for a lefty, obviously, it's really cool. And he threw it by himself. It was not a combined no-hitter. It was a no-hitter, his first, and the franchise's first as a left-hander. So that is also pretty exciting. Before we get out of here, the last thing I want to say is this. So the former president has been indicted yet once again. And of course, he's saying he didn't do anything wrong because he never accepts any accountability for anything he does. And I think it's really important that he is held to account for the stuff he's done. And I say that not just because he's just done some awful things, but because if this country is really going to have any kind of justice system, we know it's not always fair, especially if you look like me. You got to hold people accountable. You can't have different rules for some of us. And he is not the sitting president. He is a current president. He is a regular citizen, so to speak. And so the fact that he is being held accountable, he's being indicted, he's going to have to face the charges. What I say is we just have to make sure, if we want to see him held to account for the things he's done, and there have been many, it can't let him get back in the office because he'll dismantle the Justice Department and do all kinds of stuff. If y'all think craziness is happening right now, right, just let this man get back in office, or let one of the people that support him get back in office. I don't typically tell you who to vote for. I say stay ready to vote, but I think it's important that we pay attention. If you have not read the indictment, it's 45 pages. I'm telling you, it's not hard reading. I think you owe it to yourself. Even if you're a supporter, I don't care whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or independent, read it. It is important to know what's in it so that you understand what's happening and what the conversation is. No, I did not spray my shoulders with bronze body spray. I am at training camp in the sun, and I am not complaining about the sun. I'm just out there. So, and I get a little sun kiss when I'm in the sun. So that is what's happening. Oh yeah, that's what my sister said. No, she's in the sun at training camp. Hey, Bernard Francis, one of my most favorite people in the whole wide world. Happy belated birthday, Bernard. It was last week, but I just wanted to say it because he's on the show now. I actually talked about somebody that went to the University of Houston, Tank Dell. Bernard knows, and those of you who follow the show know I don't really do that. Bernard is a big UH alum, but he is now a Texan. And I did talk with head coach Kelvin Sampson at the John Lucas golf tournament. And so I might, if Coach does what he says, then I'll be covering their basketball team. If not, I'll still not talk about them, and you just have to hear it other places. But there's so much we do here. You will not be missed, right? So we are out of time. Thank you so much for being a part of Chalk Talk. Kevin, I can't wait to be on What He Said, She Said one day. I mean, it's been a year. I'm still waiting. Anyway, hey, everybody, make sure that you are staying hydrated, because you don't even have to be in Houston. It's just hot as hell everywhere. So stay hydrated, right? Make sure you stay hydrated. If you are not registered to vote, get registered, stay registered. Look and see who's running in your area and make sure that you're prepared to cast your vote, vote your values, vote what's important for you and your family and your community, all that good stuff. And remember, do something kind for somebody else and do something kind for yourself. Make it a great week, everybody. I'll see you next Wednesday on Chalk Talk. Peace.